Jackie Vernon, what a character. He was a popular comedy guest star on TV variety shows and talk shows, and very popular in the nightclubs around the country and in Las Vegas. He was a headliner from the 1950s into the 1970s. You may know him best as the voice of Frosty the Snowman in the popular family-friendly Rankin Bass television special from 1969 and its 1976 sequel, Frosty's Winter Wonderland. He was a very unique comedian who was most famous for his hilarious vacation slideshow bits.
Here's your first exposure on national television. And here's Ed Sullivan making you put your clothes back on. Now here you are making a record with a girl singer. Here's Frank Sinatra with the same girl breaking a record. How'd that one get in there, Lou?
Just kind of weird comedy that was really popular during the 1960s. Here's a bit of Jackie Vernon's deadpan act.
Guido the guide leading me around a bed of quicksand. Here's Guido the guide from the waist up. That's his hat right there. Here's the rescue party rushing to his aid. And there's the rescue party from the waist up. And here we have a lot of hats and ropes.
Orchestra leader Tim Fowler reveals that while they were out on the Roy Radin Review Tour, Jackie Vernon had a couple of weird quirks. So what was Jackie Vernon like in his private life?
Oh, Jackie was a sweetheart. Jackie was the best. He was a maniac. He had two weird things going for him that nobody knows about. One was he had a luggage fetish. He'd go out and he'd buy luggage. He'd start out, everybody had one piece of luggage, and he'd keep coming back and going to Carl, the bus driver, and go, "Hey, Carl, put this on the bus." And he'd find, in the newspaper, he'd find a sale on luggage, and he'd go buy it. And so every couple of weeks, Carl would have to take a few minutes and go somewhere and ship the luggage home for him. Otherwise, it took up too much room on the bus. There was nothing in it. He just bought all this luggage.
Weird.
And the other thing was he was a kleptomaniac. I think we were in Johnstown, New York, and Eddie Mecca, and Jackie comes up, "Hey, Eddie, I'm going to go down to this store. Come on." So they go walking down to a store, and they're walking around, and Jackie keeps bumping into Eddie. And it was, it was kind of chilly at that time. We were doing one of the fall tours, so they both had jackets on. And they'd be walking through the store, and Jackie keep bumping into Eddie. And he finally looked at him and said, "What the hell are you doing?" And he says, "No, nothing." He said, "I'm sorry, I keep bumping into you." So it turns out he walks out. They finally get out of the store. And as they get back to the hotel, Jackie says, "Hey, come here for a minute, Eddie." So they go over, and he starts reaching Eddie's pockets and pulling all this stuff out that he had shoved in his pocket. And Eddie's going, "What the hell did you do?"
I liked his act. I thought that was funny, that the thing he did with the slides. I assume that's what he did. He would pretend to show us do a slide.
Vacation.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Was he popular?
That was his classic bit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, everybody loved him. Everybody actually absolutely adored Jackie. He was just too funny. But he had this thing with Tiny Tim. He loved picking on Tiny because he always sat in the bus right behind Tiny. And Tiny had this thing about venereal diseases. And, he didn't believe in having sex out of marriage. And then once you got married, you only had sex to procreate, and that was it. And Jackie was always giving him a bad time about it, saying, "Oh, all these girls are falling all over you, Tiny. What's the matter with you?" And he'd actually pull out a Bible that he carried, and he had pictures that he cut out of newspapers and magazines and stuff about these grotesque deformities from venereal disease, where gonorrhea or syphilis or something had gone rampant, and just grotesque things. And Jackie, of course, would laugh at him. And then when we went to those buffets after the shows, Tiny never ate in public. He would take his bag or go and get a bag of food, take stuff from the buffet and then go back on the bus. And then when he got back to the hotel, he'd eat. And we could never figure out what the story was.